5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? United People's TV here. That was a shit intro. Sorry about that. I swore straight away because I got distracted by his face. It makes me laugh every single time I turn around and see the face I've managed to put on the mannequin. But welcome Erik ten Hag to the studio. It's his debut appearance. He's going to be here for a while. But look, good morning to you. I've got a smile on my face. I'm sure you've got a smile on your face. And look, Eric's got a smile on his face as well. He's also glazes out. Who knew? But look, good morning. We're going to speak about Marcus Rashford's contract. He's in talks with Manchester United over a new contract, and we'll run through the full story that's coming from Manchester Evening News. We'll speak about quite a few different things this morning. What else we got on the cards? Manchester United in opening a shop at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. It's a bit weird. I'll run through that story. I'm going to speak about Yusufa Moukoko with Dortmund giving him a bit of an ultimatum. Anthony Elanga to Borussia Dortmund. Wout Weghorst has been given his first full interview as a Manchester United player. We'll run through some of the comments there. We'll look through some training photos. We'll speak about how crap Jurgen Klopp is. We'll speak about plenty of other things as well as a community. But look how happy he is. He's so happy. Look at him. Good morning. Who's down there in the comments? John Neal, good morning to you, buddy. Red UK, Everton, Thomas, Moses, Prince, Akash, Haley, I can see you there. Nathan, Phil, Keith, Mankudos. Who's on Facebook? Dennis, I can see you there. Anas, Adam, I can see you. Aya, Sar, Matthew Smith. We've got Innes on YouTube. Josh, I can see you there as always. Paula, I can see you as well. I'm sure there are other mods. I apologize because I can't see your names here. But look, good morning to all of you. Look how happy he is. Hey, look how happy. I don't know why, but I'm just happy with how it's turned out. I thought it was going to be abysmal. I mean, it probably is abysmal. Let's be completely honest. It's a paper face of Erik ten Hag on a mannequin. I mean, it kind of is. Julie, you're enjoying it. Look, it just puts a smile on my face. But look, today is Tuesday, which means, of course, only two things. Number one, yesterday was Monday, and number two, that the latest episode of the podcast is out. Episode 32. Imagine that. We've already done 32 episodes. It's me, Neil, it's Alex, and it's Bao, and we talk through the derby. It's yeah. I think it's a pretty good podcast. I think you will enjoy it. We speak through the derby, the reaction to it. We speak through the Palace game and the questions around Casemiro and that yellow card. Because if he gets a yellow, he's banned for the Arsenal game. We speak about that. We speak about the Arsenal game. So look, I've just dropped the link in the comments there on YouTube and Facebook. If you'd like to listen to it, there's a link to it. If not, well, you don't have to. I really have to get better at promoting the podcast because I kind of need some help. I'll be honest. I need to bring someone in to help with these sorts of things because I only speak about it on Tuesday morning. I don't promote it anywhere else. But look, the podcast is out and it's a cracker and it's a busy week, man. I say it's a busy week. I'm going to say that every single week from now on. It's just we've got a game every 3 to 4 days until mid-March, I think it is. It's crazy. And it's going to be a real test of this squad. And we can have a little conversation about that later on. Jordan, you're down there saying, Sam, I was at the march, leaving Tollgate on Saturday, my first ever time. Well organised and very well executed. The 58 are doing an amazing job. Hopefully going to be speaking to the lads from the 58 this week. Got a good relationship with them. And I think what they've done has been fantastic. And part of the process here of getting the Glazers out. They've definitely exerted pressure and Manchester United have definitely responded. But look, I think it's going to be a good show today. A good show today. Oh, do I keep saying he's from Benfica? I don't know. I think I've said that a few times. I did that in the original video about Weghorst. I don't know why, but for some reason, my mind, every time I go to say Besiktas, it just says Benfica. I don't really know. But let's speak about the main story today is Marcus Rashford. We'll get onto that in a couple of minutes or so. But I want to run through this curious thing that happened yesterday. And that was this. That Manchester United opened up a shop in Davos in Switzerland. Now, that is where the World Economic Forum will be happening next week. And it's just a very interesting one. Let's run through the full story here from Reuters that kind of runs through and explains why Manchester United are saying why we've opened that shop. Manchester United set out a dazzling Davos shopfront this week, but insisted the lounge was to entertain clients and partners. Yeah. So at a time when the club is trying to be sold, the club's going to go and spend money on entertaining clients, current clients and partners. Suspect. Ellie Norman, a spokesperson for Manchester United, said the lounge was definitely not aimed at attracting buyers and will be used to meet existing clients and partners. I'll be completely honest. I think the idea that Manchester United have opened a shop in Switzerland before the World Economic Forum to try and find a billionaire, what are they going to do? Pop down to the shop to get a cup of tea and go, what's that? And then a billionaire is going to buy the club. It's just a really weird thing. That's the only way I can describe it. I can't really tell you any logic as to why they would do it. It's just, it's an odd one. It really is an odd one. But of course, remember, I did the video last week. I've got an absolutely, can I say, I've got an absolutely fantastic interview lined up. I'll give you a teaser for it now. We're all waiting for updates. Did this sort of a bit of a weird update. Jonathan. Imagine the Glazers got done for money laundering. That'd be funny. Although United would probably get roped up into that. But maybe not. I've done so many videos on the sale of Manchester United, right? I'm trying to follow it as closely as I possibly can. And I think you're the same as me in that I want to know a bit more about what the process is next. What are the next steps? What can we expect to hear and when can we expect to hear it? I'm going to be speaking to, hopefully this week, an attorney from America with years of experience working in this industry, working with sales of companies who are listed, 9-digit companies. Don't need to name any names, but it could and should be a very, very insightful interview. I'm hoping to get that done this week and hoping to release that on Saturday morning. So make sure you subscribe if you are new. I do try and do, I like these interviews. You remember that Nicholas McGeehan interview? Interviews are probably some of my favorite bits of content to do because they bring real, genuine knowledge and insight from different areas. And I think I'm looking forward to doing that one. But yeah, I just found this really, really weird. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to be going on in that shop. I suppose we're going to find out over the next week. Now, I can see you all here down in the comments talking about a salary cap. So let's speak about the main headline and the main story today. And that's come from Manchester Evening News from last night that Manchester United are confident of getting Marcus Rashford to sign a new contract. Now, you know full well that Man United have exercised the option to extend Rashford's contract. I believe they've done the same thing with Delo. I think they're doing the same thing with Shaw. I think. Anyway, he's got 18 months because prior to that he could technically have spoken to clubs in January, but we sorted it before January. So he's got 18 months left on his contract. Now Manchester United are in talks over that new deal. Let's read through the full article. Let's have a conversation down here in the comments, right? Manchester United are confident of tying him down, of tying down Marcus Rashford on a new contract as discussions continue over a renewal. Rashford is expected to receive an increase on his £200,000 a week salary, but United are reluctant to break the 300,000 barrier, so one player does not earn significantly more than the others. Casemiro earns 300k a week. De Gea's on 375, but he got a 25% reduction when we didn't qualify for the Champions League. United triggered that one-year option to keep him at the club, and although an agreement is not expected imminently, sources say United are comfortable with Rashford's situation and that both parties want a new contract. Now, the first thing that you're going to come at me and say is this, Sam, what was all that bollocks then about a salary cap? Now, you'll remember when I first covered this story from Joe Bernstein. I don't even know who Joe Bernstein is. He may well be a legitimate journalist, but I've not really seen him on the in the United sphere before, right? Joe Bernstein is the only person who came out with this exclusive that Manchester United are going to be introducing a 200k per week salary cap. And we had a conversation about it as a community. Gary Neville went as far as to call it, what, ridiculous, I think he did. Because we know full well that in modern football, a 200 grand a week salary cap, that's going to limit you in terms of the players that you can sign. Look, Casemiro's on 300k a week. I didn't actually know that. Casemiro's on 300k a week. Having a salary cap like that would technically hurt who United could go after. And I said at the time, let's wait to see if this Ronaldo rule is what Joe Bernstein called it there. Ronaldo rule, the 200 grand a week, whether it's corroborated, whether we see David Ornstein speaking about it from The Athletic, James Ducker from The Telegraph, Paul Hurst from The Times, Simon Stone from the BBC. There's so many different journalists. None of them have mentioned anything to do with the salary cap. It's only come from this one article on the 7th of January in the Daily Mail. All right. So we don't know whether there's any truth to this. And I said that at the time. I said, look, let's try and find out and see if it gets followed up by other journalists. And it just hasn't. So maybe there is no salary cap. Maybe. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe the Daily Mail just makes stuff up. I know bombshell, right? I know complete bombshell, just blown your mind. Maybe they just made it up. It wouldn't be the first time and it won't be the last time. But regardless of the numbers involved, Rashford deserves that new deal, man. Rashford deserves that new deal, and we need to get Rashford on that new deal. 200 grand a week, it's kind of par for the course. Actually, I say that. It's quite top end. If you look at Liverpool's wage structure, Man City, there's not really much point in comparing it to that. Sam, yeah, you're right down there. Of course, this could happen. PSG could come over the top completely and just blow any contract offer out of the water. Sure. But with Rashford, and I think this is, geez, you remember when, over these last 18 months, I've criticised Rashford. We all have. Because we've just not seen the Rashford that we knew was there, the 2019-20 version of Rashford. He kind of disappeared into himself for like 12, 18 months. But what we're seeing now is a new version of Rashford. I've told you this. This is not Rashford getting back to his best. This is Rashford reaching his best from before and going up probably 2 or 3 levels. Seems more of a complete player. Seems more ready to take that step up in the big moments. He's always been a bit of a big game goal scorer. He's got a really good record against Liverpool. Well, he's got a good record against City as well. He does turn up he does like scoring big goals in big games. But Rashford, with 9 goals in his last 9 appearances at Old Trafford, he's reaching. Well, let's see what goes on between now and the end of the season. But as it stands now, we need to get Rashford on this new deal. I'm not particularly worried about it. I'll be completely honest. I'm not particularly worried about it. They're saying, look, Manchester United, they're comfortable with what's going on. And Rashford wants to sign that new contract. And that's probably why I'm not too worried about it. I think Rashford wants to stay. Rashford has been here. He's Manchester born and bred, from Wythenshawe. Came through the academy, and he's got a different affiliation and a different connection to this club. And he's had to ride the waves of the last few years. Had his breakthrough, was it under Van Gaal? So his United career so far has existed of a breakthrough under Van Gaal, to working under Jose Mourinho, to then finding some love under Solskjaer, but then it ultimately not being good enough, to then Rangnick and everything that happened there, to now Ten Hag and what's going on now. It's the most stable the club has been. Do you think? Let's type this in there, right? Let's put this down as a poll. Let me get this up quick. About Rashford, about that new deal, right? Let me pop this up here. Start a poll. Will Rashford sign a new contract? What do you think? Yes or no? A simple one, yes or no. We don't have to talk about how much it's going to be. That's kind of irrelevant, really. Do you think he'll sign a new contract? I'll put the poll up. I always say this every single day. I apologize to everyone watching on Facebook. These polls only exist on YouTube. I know. Have a go at Facebook, not me. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Sam, it's an awful pity you can't pay all the players base. You can't pay all players a bait. You could try that if you wanted to, but then why would a player sign that when they can go somewhere else and get a guaranteed base? I think that was, it's like, I don't know, a player might contribute like 25, 30 goals and then be pissed off because he's getting punished because other players aren't playing well enough. I understand the logic of it, and there has to be some good performance-related bonuses as part of that new contract. But the base has to reflect how good a player is. And Rashford, as I said, he's shown that he's leveling up. He's leveling up at this particular moment in time. Let me see who's down here. Anthony, a very good point there. 1,200 watching to only 240 likes. 1,000 of you right now. Drop a like on the video for Marcus Rashford. Let me see what you're saying down here. The majority of you are all saying yes, he will be signing that new contract. Local lad, of course he will. The option should have been yes, no, and no. Look, I personally think he signs that contract. I personally don't think that Manchester United are really concerned. It's the wrong way to describe it. I don't think Man United are in any way, shape, or form worried about whether or not Rashford will sign that contract. He wants it. He can, in the same way that we as fans right now, we're starting to believe something that we haven't sort of believed in a while. There is a real genuine quality to this team, and I'll emphasize the word team under Ten Hag, and where we feel we can get to. Why would Rashford walk away from that at this point in time? I don't think he would. Jibak, you're saying that Rashi's a United lad. He's loved here, paid well, integral part of the first team. I don't see why he would leave United for Paris. I mean, I wouldn't say it would purely be a financial decision, but it'll be effectively would be. And also getting the opportunity to play alongside Mbappe. There's other reasons why you could understand. I'm just saying from a completely objective point of view, standing back and comparing the two, I can see some reason, some logic as to why he would choose that. But I don't think he'd turn his back on United. I really, really don't. Let me see how many votes are in to that poll straight away. We have got, why is it? It never shows me the bloody poll on here. Does it not show polls on the phone? That's really dumb if that's true. No, I can't see the poll on the phone. Right, let me pull up on here again. Hopefully it doesn't mess the mic up. It does. It's not my fault. Right, let's see. Right, so we've got 500 votes. I mean, what was the point of the poll? 500 votes so far. It's a close vote, but 97% of you think that he will be signing that new contract. And look, that's what's called a landslide. I completely agree with you as well. I think Rashford signs a new deal. And I tell you what, if I was going to be concerned about a contract, I don't think it would be Marcus Rashford's. Craig, let me know where you're watching from, buddy. Nice to see you joining as a member. Make sure you join the community as well. Any new community, like Jay, yesterday, I'll go back to it. Jay, man, what an absolute don and a generous don for giving 50 memberships yesterday. For all 50 of you, go onto the YouTube community tab, go onto the main YouTube page, / United People's TV, click the community tab, and in there'll be a link to the special members only Telegram page. And I've said it to you before, and I really apologize. It's so busy that I can't seem to find the time to start the members only content. And it's mainly because I don't particularly know exactly what to do and when to do it. But I promise it's coming. I really do. So thank you for being patient for me. But yeah, I don't personally feel that there's any reason to be concerned about a new deal for Marcus Rashford. And I'm not saying there's reason to be concerned about a new deal for Garnacho, but I would say this is a more prevalent conversation. This is not a more important conversation, but there's more questions around it. That's probably what I would say. Alejandro Garnacho, you know full well we signed him from Atletico Madrid when he was 16. So Madrid was where he was. That's where his footballing pedigree was created, I suppose. And this is the latest on Alejandro Garnacho and a new contract coming from The Independent and Miguel Delaney. Manchester United are taking a long-term view of Garnacho's contract and the development of him as well. Real Madrid, there you go, are keen to move if an extension cannot be agreed. But again, like Rashford, he's got 18 months left to run on his present deal. Let's run through this article together. Blah, 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 blah. Juventus have been looking. Real Madrid are monitoring his situation, and so is virtually every major football agent, as the wider game sees him as a potential star. This is one potential caveat to all the excitement. The new contract put in front of Garnacho remains unsigned, with his current deal set to expire in the summer of 2024, albeit with the option of an extra year. The players' representatives have said an offer of $20,000 a week isn't enough, and that doesn't reflect his growing status on the team. Currently on $7,000 a week, isn't that mad? Imagine earning $7,000 a week at 18. $7,000 a week at 18. I'd be arrested quite quick. I wouldn't be arrested. I might be. But it just goes to show the scale, isn't it? From a breakthrough star to the absolute top level, there is a huge amount of difference. But Garnacho currently on $7,000 a week. Man United are offering him $20,000 a week. And it's very, very difficult, isn't it? Because how do you... okay, I'll ask you in the comments here. How do you measure how much an 18-year-old is? Garnacho, an absolute breakthrough star right now. He's amazing. But what would be a fair amount per week to represent that? You let me know in the comments below, because I have no idea. I mean, these numbers you kind of can't get your head around it. But if if Casemiro is on $300,000 a week, for example, and we know who Casemiro is, he's a 5 times Champions League winning, cream of the crop, absolute top. What's a fair comparison of that for Alejandro Garnacho? I'm gonna go down here and see what you're saying in the comments. Zane, you're saying 40 grand. Dirty, you're saying 25k. 75, 30, 50, 30. Market rate, I don't know whether there is a market rate. That's what I mean. I don't know whether there is like a precedent you can point towards and say, or maybe there is. Maybe there are other 18-year-olds at United that have been on that much. Jonathan, you're saying 50. John, you're saying 50. Looks like 50 is a pretty... quite a few of you are saying 50. Maybe 50 grand is a fair amount. But I think 50 grand would be a lot at quite a few other clubs. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'll be completely honest. But as I said, I'm not particularly worried about my famous last words. I'm not particularly worried about whether or not Marcus Rashford will sign a new deal. I think he will. But this kid here, he is an absolute star in the making. And his contract runs out at the same time as Marcus Rashford. So we have to make sure that we get that. Martin with a super chat. You're saying, what do you make of the news about Scott McTominay to Newcastle? That will be a talking point that comes up very soon, Martin. And I find it all a little bit weird. Matt, you're saying insane. If we've offered 20k, it's almost insulting. I mean, it's still 20 grand a week. It's 20 fucking grand a week. But I suppose it's all relative, right? 20 grand a week. It's all completely relative when there are others inside that squad. When Phil Jones is probably on 100 grand a week. Is Phil Jones still... Is he on a contract? I don't know. It's beyond a piss take now. Like, just terminate the deal. Man, look, if we can sack Ronaldo, surely we can do something with... Phil Jones hasn't actually done anything wrong. I'm not saying he's done anything wrong, but come on. My word. That Phil Jones situation is mad. But look, let me go down here. I'm going to read a few of your comments out around this. What was Mbappe on at his age? I mean, how old was he when he moved from Monaco to PSG? I think he was like 19, wasn't he? So look. Mbappe joins PSG. Sounds really a deal. Joined in 2017. I don't know how old he is now. He was a teenager. Wherever he was a teenager. And they paid him a lot. Pedri's on 100. Is that true? Oh my God. I've no idea. It's a lot of dough. It is a lot of dough. And whether it's 20 grand a week, let's see if there's anything other interesting points inside this article. 20 grand a week is the offer there currently. United, for their part, have taken an understandably measured approach that follows on from Fergie's philosophy as regards young players. The message they've been getting across in negotiations is that if young players approach football the right way, the money will follow. And there's no reason to be worried about it. It's about the long-term and properly developing players. Yeah, well, that will only go so far in this modern game because you can have that moral high ground, if you want to call it. But there'll just be another club that will just be happy to pay him double, triple immediately straight away. And you'll just be left empty-handed. So there is a balance to have between those. Martin, you're saying that Phil Jones on 75 grand. I don't know how much Phil Jones on. But whatever Phil Jones is on, it is an absolute joke. Can we please just get that done and get that sorted? I think down there he is. Every single Gungshi. I don't think you're on a Telegram, are you? I think you keep yourself quite private. But Gungshi down there gifting 5 memberships. Who are the lucky 5? We've got Gary, Jadfan, Mark Ryan, and Ross. And Nev, you are the lucky 5 down there. Say thank you very much to the man himself in Gungshi. Brett, you're a big fan of the old Garnacho work on the wall. Anybody, I get probably 2 or 3 messages about that per week. That's from Stan Chow, a Manchester-based artist. You can see Eric Ten Hag down there in the corner. And I think I must have bought somewhere between 10 and 15 different pieces of artwork for him. I didn't pay anything for that. Funnily enough. Man, that cracks me up. Every time I look at it, it just cracks me up. We've got Eric in the studio. I might have to interview him later. Ask him about, team news for the Crystal Palace game, see what's going on. But there really is quite a few different talking points to speak about today. Now, this one's a little bit of a weird one. And you know full well that during transfer windows, United's name just gets used by other people, by clubs, used by players, used by agents, used by newspapers to just bump up interest. I kind of think this Declan Rice situation is one of those. Jacob Steinberg in The Guardian, and also I think it was Luke Edwards in The Telegraph. Either way, it was from The Telegraph saying that Declan Rice is going to be Arsenal's top summer target. You go down here, scroll. Manchester United are also expected to take a close interest in Rice's situation. No, we're not. The Declan Rice conversation existed before we signed Casemiro. You remember it right at the start when people genuinely were trying to compare Rice and Casemiro. Honestly. And it was just like, it staggers you. It staggers you, the stuff that people say. I don't think Manchester United are going anywhere near Declan Rice. I'm not saying that we don't need a backup to Casemiro, and we'll have a conversation about McTominay next. But yeah, that's a bit of a wild one. That is a bit of a wild one. Anthony, no, not all the prizes got claimed. I've actually still got them down there. Yeah, I apologize. I apologize to everyone who won a giveaway at Christmas. They were late in being sent out. I do need to bring someone in to start helping me. I'll be honest. But no, I've still got some stuff here that I need to. I'm just gonna pack it all up and give it to a kids charity. I think we agreed that as a community. I just haven't quite done it yet. Dave, look, I covered that. I spoke about that. I spoke about it at the time. It only came from one journalist called Joe Bernstein from the Daily Mail. It's the only place we saw this conversation around a salary cap. It's not been spoken about anywhere else. Until that is the case, we can just dismiss the concept of a salary cap at Manchester United as maybe just a little bit of paper guff. But interestingly enough, talking about Declan Rice, back up to Casemiro, Scott McTominay. Interesting article came from the Telegraph yesterday. Newcastle United considering a transfer swoop for Gallagher, Loftus-Cheek and Ziyech, all from Chelsea. And there's also a paragraph down here on Scott McTominay. This one here. Newcastle have expressed an interest in Scott McTominay after learning the player is worried about a lack of game time under Ten Hag. Scotland international is widely liked by Newcastle's management team, and the North East club will bid for him if they are offered any encouragement from Old Trafford to do so. Telegraph Sport understands McTominay is understood to be open to moving to Newcastle. So, kind of an interesting one. It's not written as a headline to the story. It's just written as a paragraph as part of the story. But Newcastle and interest in Scott McTominay. This is not, I believe anyway, it's not the first time that we've heard any links between McTominay and Newcastle. What do you think? You let me know in the comments below. There's absolutely no way, first and foremost, there's no way that McTominay goes in January, right? So that's kind of a mute and irrelevant point. We're not letting McTominay go in January. We do not have the depth. Even if you think that McTominay isn't the guy in the long term, in the short term, there's no chance we can let him leave in January. And in the long term, if we are having and entertaining the idea of him going there, 50 mil. You remember what Newcastle tried to charge us? By the way, thank you very much, Newcastle, for charging that much for Longstaff, so we didn't sign him. But Longstaff is he's effectively McTominay. They're like cousins or something like that. Very similar players, very kind of similar level of players. I don't know why they go after him. I'll be completely honest. But let me go down here and see what you're saying about McTominay in the comments below. That's a good comment there from Martin. Well, Chelsea will probably sign him then. Let me see down here. You would still want 40 mil. Nah, 50 mil, man. Let's Scott McTominay. Remember, McTominay's a decent player, and I don't think his level will ever get that much further or that much higher than decent. He is a decent squad player. But look how much game time he's had in our run that we've done. How many times has Scott McTominay played? Just hardly at all. If anyone comes on in midfield, it's Fred. And Fred's been fantastic. And that's why I fought so hard at the start of the season for everybody to sort of stop calling them McFred, to separate them, because McTominay and Fred in their own right have qualities. Fred, I think, has more qualities, and we're seeing that. But putting them together in the same way as putting Lindelof and Maguire together, they do have some qualities, even though not many. Well, certainly Maguire. Put them together, they just don't work. Same thing sort of existed for McTominay and Fred. Tommy, do you think he'd be excellent at Newcastle? McTominay can go after we get Tielemans, says Ant. Tielemans is another one. Tielemans, of course, is available on a free transfer. I'm kind of surprised that Newcastle aren't going after Tielemans. Be honest. United could, if we're looking, call it football manager, call it whatever you want. Tielemans on a free, well, it wouldn't be a free if anybody bought him in January. It'll be a cut price deal. I don't know, somewhere in the, £10 million mark. But we had a debate about Tielemans on the podcast. Alex absolutely slating him. I think unnecessarily. I think he's a decent enough player. I don't think that Tielemans comes in and transforms Manchester United's first 11, but in terms of giving an option, I think he's good. I do think he's a good player. But let's find out. As I said, Newcastle are apparently interested in signing McTominay, and if Man United, if there's any sort of encouragement from United side, they're going to throw in a bid for him. If they want him, 50 mil. Easy. Easy as that. Gary saying he's an excellent player on his day. Trouble is those days are rare. I mean, remember that form that he hit in the build-up to the City game? Liverpool and Arsenal included in that. Scott McTominay was playing fantastic. He had a really good run of form. And strikes me as a player that pretty much does. That's why Mourinho liked him so much. He does exactly what the manager asks of him. Right? I don't know. That's a good comment there from Glenn. Just keep him for the Leeds games. Remember what he was? It scored 2 goals in like 6 minutes at Old Trafford. That was a hell of a start of the game. Stevie's saying, don't you think McTominay will develop further under Ten Hag as others have? Man, there's so many players who have developed under Ten Hag. It's ridiculous. And at different points in their career as well. Alejandro just breaking through. Look at the development that's happened under him. From Marcus Rashford to finding new levels, to Luke Shaw, all of a sudden playing centre-back, to Diogo Dalot, becoming a massively all-rounded right-back, to Wan-Bissaka. What's going on with Wan-Bissaka? Look, I spoke about Wan-Bissaka yesterday. Where's that photo? That one? No, that's Veghorst. I'm speaking about Veghorst later in the show, by the way. Spoiler! There it is there. Thank you very much, everyone who sort of engaged with that video, dropped a like on it, and who left a comment. Because the Wan-Bissaka story might be the most surprising development story out of them all. Dalot's surprised me, but you kind of saw, not that you saw it coming, but you saw that it could happen. Luke Shaw, he has been class at points, and he's just getting the absolute best version of him now. Marcus Rashford's development is, I wouldn't say surprising, but really encouraging. But I think the Wan-Bissaka development is the most surprising. That's the one that really I didn't see coming. I really didn't see it coming. I've just written him off. Fair play to him, and fair play to it's down to a multitude of things. I'm not just saying that Ten Hag himself is responsible for Wan-Bissaka's turnaround, because that would be disingenuous. Wan-Bissaka's clearly been grafting hard, working hard, and he's put himself in this position. But I'll tell you what, it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Josh, you're saying, look, you were calling for it. Oh, come on, were you really? Really? Come on, people. Don't be like Captain Hindsight. Maybe you were. Maybe you were. Maybe I'm being disingenuous. But I definitely wrote him off. Sam, do you think Tielemans this year or Neves could be compelling alternatives to Frenkie de Jong for Ten Hag? Not exactly the same. I wouldn't put Tielemans in that category. And Neves, I mean, you could. If you really wanted to sort of stretch that category and make it a little bit wider, you could probably throw Neves in, but that's going to be a lot of money. I'm not sure he'd come and just be an understudy to Casemiro. It's a tough thing because you need to sign a player who's good enough to be an understudy to Casemiro, but okay enough being an understudy to Casemiro. It's a very difficult balance to find. It's a very difficult balance to find. Jonathan, you're saying, look, it's incredible how many of these players we all said weren't good enough over a year ago. And it goes to show what good coaching can do. You're right, John, and it's what I said in the video yesterday. I've always maintained that players are a product of their environment. If a team's doing well, if confidence is high, all of a sudden, players that you didn't think had that level find that level because the team's doing well. And that's definitely part of what you're seeing at this moment in time. Just everybody is just helping each other get better. And the levels all around are just kind of going up progressively at the same time. But McTominay to Newcastle, that's not happening in January. And if they want him past January, coming with the big bucks, boys, because we know that you have deep pockets. 50 mil for McTominay, we can have a conversation. A little bit of a random one here. I know quite a few of you have been speaking about Youssoufa Moukoko, the teenager from, I think it's a teenager from Dortmund, out of contract in the summer. Technically, he's a centre forward, but he's not exactly got the frame of a centre forward. A little bit more diminutive in that sense. Garfield, let me know where you're watching from, dude. Joining as a member, Garfield Garrow, what a name. I'll try and give you a shout out in the comments if I can see your name down there. But he is being given an ultimatum by Dortmund, which is quite interesting because his contract expires in the summer. This is what he said. The sporting director has said, look, pardon me, let me have a little bit of water. They've put together a very attractive contract offer for him, and he needs to commit or their paths will part. He's 18, there you go, not 17. But this is one to watch, in my opinion. One to watch. I think there'll be loads of clubs sniffing around him. Of course he will be. If he's a free transfer, then yeah, they will be. I'm not necessarily sure he fits exactly what Manchester United need, and it would be signing a player for the sake of signing a player who's a free. But he's got qualities about him. I think that one's interesting to watch. And the reason I'm putting that in there, speaking about Moukoko and Dortmund, is because of segue. Speaking here about Anthony Elanga, and a really interesting update from Fabrizio Romano on Elanga's short-term and maybe long-term future. Dortmund have explored the conditions of a loan deal to sign Anthony Elanga. Understand the player side would be open to the Bundesliga move. Everton are also interested. The decision is up to Manchester United. And wow, that is a seriously good move for Anthony Elanga. Dortmund right now, I think they're like, what, 5th, 6th in the Bundesliga? Not having the best of seasons. He could go out there and make a little bit of a name for himself, following the footsteps of Sancho, following the footsteps of Bellingham, following the footsteps of Haaland if he wants to. Elanga to Dortmund is such a better move than Elanga to Everton. Everton right now, their fans are putting their CEO in a headlock. The board is being advised not to go to games because of genuine, actual threats to, not their life, but threats against them. They're in free fall. Lampard's going to get sacked at some point soon. Elanga to Dortmund, hell yeah. That's a good move. That's a good move for him. It's a good move for United because I've explained as to where Elanga fits inside this squad, where our squad strength and depth. You know, I'll tell you what, just thinking about that, let me do a video on that. squad strength right now, each position. That'll be an interesting one to do because it's a massively important thing that's coming up in these next few weeks. We need our squad. Where are the weaknesses? Where can Ten Hag rotate without losing too much tempo in the team? That's a good video, Sam. Thank you, Sam. What do you reckon, Eric? Do you reckon that's a good video? Yeah. He agrees. Eric agrees. But yeah, back to what I was saying there. Elanga to Dortmund is so much better than Elanga to Everton. He wants it. I'm not surprised he wants it. Let's find out whether that deal goes through. But I really hope that that does go through. Geez, Van der Beek at Everton. Man, that was a bad move. That was a bad move. You're talking about Elanga being a youth product, important for squad registration. I don't know what is the A. That's the A list and the B list. And if you're an academy player, then you don't have to be registered to the A list. I think that is. Can't remember that. But yeah, Anthony Elanga to Dortmund. Let's follow that one, and that of course leads on to conversations around Pellistri. Manchester United have scheduled a new round of talks with Pellistri's agent to discuss that loan move. Come on, man, just get it done. If he's going to stay, he's going to stay. Like, come on. Just get it done. Valencia, Bologna, and Flamengo all want to sign Pellistri. And we've had conversations about this as a community. Elanga and Pellistri, they're standing at the same door trying to get through. And only one of them can. And from Ten Hag's profile of a player, he needs more technical quality on the ball. Elanga just doesn't have that. Maybe he can develop that at Dortmund, but Pellistri has that naturally, right? He has that naturally. And I'd like to see Pellistri stay and Elanga to go out on loan. We've spoken about that all, and we all pretty much agree on that. Let's find out. I don't want Pellistri to be going out on loan. I think he definitely has a place in the squad, and he definitely will get minutes, especially with everything that's coming up. We've got it's mad. As I said, we've got Crystal Palace on Wednesday, Arsenal on Sunday, Nottingham Forest on Wednesday, Reading on Saturday, Nottingham Forest on Wednesday, and then we go back into the Premier League. And then on top of that, you add in the other game. You got the League Cup final coming up. The Brentford game would have to be rescheduled if we get past Nottingham Forest. Add in the Barcelona home and away in the Europa. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Garth, let me know where you're watching from, dude. I'll try and give you a shout out, but welcome aboard to the squad. Ahmad and Pellistri are suffering from the transition right now. Feels unfair because neither have been failures, effort or ability-wise. Yeah, I suppose they are kind of suffering. Well, suffering is probably not the word I would use to describe it. It's just that they're not first teams right now. The first team players right now. Ahmad's nailing it out on loan. A good loan can really improve your prospects. I just don't want to see Pellistri going out on loan. I don't think we've got the squad depth without him there. You're saying you're looking forward to Weghorst tomorrow. I'm a huge Holland fan. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. I'm looking forward to Weghorst. We'll speak about him in a little bit. And my starting 11 is going to be going out later. What have we got next to talk about? I want to quickly run through. There's some really important talking points. I'm going to run through now. Gary Neville's comments on Ten Hag being mesmerizing. Taking a look at that, speaking about Jadon Sancho and Weghorst's comments about why he joined United and the profile of him. There's a good 10 minutes left in the show. Make sure you drop a like. Hey, look, if you are new, and I'm sure there are plenty of you who are new, how many got watching? We've got 1,700 of you watching right now, and I bet you're not all subscribed. So just take 1 second, hit the subscribe button, drop a like on the video. Let's get back to the news. But I'd love to have you as part of the community. I enjoy it. I think you would too. This is what Gary Neville said on his podcast after the games on Sunday. He said he was mesmerized by how good a job Erik Ten Hag is doing. He said, look, I thought it was a risk at a time when I heard that story about dropping Harry Maguire. You know what players are like, and there was the spirit at the time, but I'm mesmerized by the job that Ten Hag has done. If you'd said to me 4 months ago, this is where United would be, I'd have said no chance. I'd have said that they're finishing halfway down the table the way they were. Coming off the back of last season, the start of this season, I thought they were absolutely nowhere near. I thought they overpaid for Anthony, overpaid for Casemiro, and it looked like the usual United panic. So it's worth noting in moments like this, so we shouldn't go too far, but the job the manager has done, not only on the pitch, but with the players and how he's brought them together, the way he's dealt with big situations. I love this, by the way. I love this photo of Ten Hag. It's definitely my favorite photo of Ten Hag so far. It's just I don't know. I just like it. Typically because he's not that emotional on the sidelines, and he absolutely reveled in that win over City. I am pretty mesmerised. I think that's a fair way to describe it. I'm pretty mesmerised by what Ten Hag has done, what he continues to achieve. And you know what I said on Twitter yesterday? I said, we can have conversations about how impressive, it is impressive what's happened with Wan-Bissaka, what's happened with Shaw and Rashford and McTominay and Delo. And I said this. Honestly, I'm so excited about when Jadon Sancho comes back. Not to the point where I'm going to keep saying, when Sancho back, when Sancho back, when. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to sit there quietly until either Ten Hag or Sancho says he's back. That's when he's back. So you don't need to ask until one of those say he's back. But when Sancho comes back, I just get this. I don't know. Maybe, again, this is the optimist in me taking over a little bit. In the same way that I'm looking at Weghorst and I'm saying, man, he can make a real difference. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I'm looking at Jadon Sancho coming back and just being like a player reborn. Almost like a brand new, clean slate. Forget everything that's happened before. This is a new United team. We're on the rise. We're on the up. Be part of this. And Sancho, I just feel, it's cliche. Sometimes it applies. And I think Sancho really will feel like a new signing. He really will. I think it's going to be a different Jadon Sancho. You remember how he was before? Every time it kind of be a similar thing to Anthony at this particular moment in time. Every time he squared up to a defender, he never skipped past them. He would always turn back and go back. And we just know full well that's not Jadon Sancho's game. I'm just so excited to see him back. And it was mentioned on the pod last week, plugging the pod again. Hell yes, I am. Yesterday, about how Man United, if we're going to have a successful few months now, we absolutely need, not Weghorst, players like Jadon Sancho to come back in and start sharing the load from Marcus Rashford. Because at some point, Rashford will dip. And we need goals from everywhere. And I said it, I think it was it Bournemouth, where Casemiro scored and Shaw scored? I think it was one of those games. I think it might have been Bournemouth. I'm like, good, we're sharing the goals around. That's what we've got to be doing. But Sancho, when he comes back, man, I think it's going to be a problem for everyone. And if Ten Hag can get Wan-Bissaka believing in himself again, imagine how good Sancho could be if he refines himself as well. Ashcan, I think you might be a little bit disappointed. I don't think Sancho will be back just then. There's a couple of comments here saying that Sancho's back in individual training. Yeah, I think he's been back at Carrington for a couple of weeks now, but he's still not involved in group training, and that's the step up. He might just be working on his own fitness, working on his own footwork. Yes, until he's back involved in the main training, we don't know what's going on. But let's speak about this guy to finish the show, right? Weghorst, I'm very excited to see him play. I'm going to be my starting 11 for the Crystal Palace game is going to go out in about an hour and a half's time, around about 12:30 UK time. That's normally when I try to release my videos. I'll speak about Weghorst, speak about whether or not he's going to be in that starting 11. But he spoke about the move in a bit of detail, and I thought this was really important. He's speaking about how to pronounce his name. He goes, I take it. Wout Weghorst, I take it. I go for it. In Dutch, you say it like Weghorst, but the G, of course, in England is a little bit difficult. So in my time at Burnley, it was also Weghorst, so that's okay. So I have now got permission from Weghorst himself to call him Wout Weghorst. So that is what I'll continue to do. I apologize to any Dutch fans who are annoyed at me that I get my G's wrong. But it's really hard to say in English. So look, that's what I'm going to call him. But I thought this point was particularly interesting. During your time at Burnley, this, by the way, is his first full interview with Manchester United. I would typically cover this in a video, but I'm going to be doing the Crystal Palace 11 today. And I've actually also done a previous video on him. But maybe there's going to be interesting talking points that we can run through here, including this one. During your time at Burnley, you were among the highest pressing strikers in the Premier League. Is this an element of your game you feel is important? Yes, I think that's something is one of my strengths, especially without the ball, to put pressure on an opponent, to be active. And also these pressures in the time at Burnley, I had a lot of that also. That's also something I'm capable of. And that is also something in the way Ten Hag wants to play. He wants to play aggressive. He wants to go high on the pitch, try to recover the ball there as quickly as possible. And I think I can help the team do that. And that's off the ball work is such an important facet of modern football, because winning that ball back early and going up against a team which isn't set in their defensive shape, it gives you such better chances. And I think Weghorst is going to be, I don't know, man. I've just got really good feeling about him. Fitness-wise, not sure how fit he's going to be. Of course, he was fit and he was training and he was scoring goals out in the Turkish Super League. Turkish Super League, Premier League, different kettle of fish. But let's find out. He was fit enough to play at the World Cup. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And yeah, I found that bit, that was a nice little snippet in terms of the insight into him. Couple of quick training photos from yesterday. There's Weghorst. He's ready. He's prepped. There's Anthony Elanga looking at Borussia Dortmund. There's Pellistri. Hopefully he stays. There's Martinez, who I think should be starting tomorrow. I'll run through my starting 11. There's Garnacho, man. Oi, 5 assists. I don't know. I'm guessing it's true because Man United said it. But 5 assists this season. And that goal against... Man, this kid is something. This kid really is something. Couple more photos here. Who have we got? There's there's Alejandro Garnacho. They're all doing the rondo. There's the big man. There's Kobbie Mainoo. Victor Lindelof. We've got a squad coming together now, haven't we? That's probably the best way I would describe it. There's Harry Maguire, unfortunately. There's Pellistri, Scott McTominay, Elanga, Martinez, Garnacho. Oh, look at that. Woohoo! Look at that for a photo. Nice. And you know what's also nice? Seeing this. Can you remember? It wasn't that long ago, was it? This Liverpool team is the greatest team ever. Nothing can compare to this team. Look how... Nah, you're shit. The fall-off has been spectacular. And it's... I don't know whether it's a habit of modern football fans, because maybe back in the 90s, people were also doing the same thing then. But the amount that people exaggerate players' qualities in the present. Oh, he's the best striker that's ever existed. Oh, this is the best team that there's ever been. Like the hyperbole behind it. It's just straight up wrong. And it's just so fucking funny to be seeing Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp saying, I'm not leaving Liverpool. I'm not quitting. So soon after their fans were trying to argue it was the best goddamn team ever. They won 1 Premier League title. What an era. What an era. We won 3 in a row twice, you absolute weapons. It's just funny. It's just good. And it can't... Yeah, there you go. That's... I always forget what the phrase is. Recency bias is exactly what it is. Like the other day, we were talking about in the WhatsApp group before we went live this morning, people trying to say that David Beckham was overrated. Guys, if you ever had the privilege of watching David Beckham grow up from that when he broke through, I think it was 96 was that goal against Wimbledon. I think it was. Was it? No. Was it David Beckham against Wimbledon? Versus Wimbledon. When was it? It was in 96. Yeah, look at that. Gold star for me. People trying to write Beckham off and saying that he was overrated. If anything, Beckham was underrated. And it's a madness. Oh, and Mixie Tubes ran like last 10 minutes of the show. You know what it is here, ladies and gents. You fire in as many different questions as you want. It can be about football. It can be about not football, which means you can be about anything. And I'll answer them. Last 5 minutes of the show. I always like doing that. If I was pissed off at the idea of Arsenal winning the league until I realised that if City win the league, they win 3 in a row. Three in a row. Now I don't really care if Arsenal win the league as long as City or Liverpool don't. Let me see. Man, do you know the funniest thing about that? They won it in an empty stadium. They finally won a title for the first time in 30 years. and they couldn't even have a parade. They couldn't even. Oh man, that is just the football gods. The football gods were smiling down on us then. The football gods really were smiling down on us. Nathan, you're saying Beckham is still underrated. People think, mate, Beckham passed. He beat everybody in every single fitness test for years. The guy was relentless. The energy that he had was unbelievable. And he was so important in that 99 treble winning season. Can I try and get a voice for him? What sort of technical setup do you think I've got here? What, plug Eric Ten Hag in? I need to get him a microphone as well. Do I have any middle names? I do, but I'm not telling you. What else is saying now? What's in the blue box? That is a pair of Adidas. Obviously, a pair of Adidas. It's an Adidas box. I haven't told you which ones yet. Is there a possibility that our club could be sold before the end of the transfer window? No, that won't happen. Manchester United are hoping for a sale before the end of Q1. It won't be in the next 14 days. And if it is by the end of Q1, that's, I wouldn't say it's optimistic. We've planned towards it, and the due diligence, there is time for it to be done. In the next 3-4 weeks, at some point, I'll be coming here live and direct with you, speaking about the official bids that are going in. It's about to crank up. With stage one, I would say stage one of the sale of Manchester United is done. The statement going out, interested parties, all murmurings, that's stage one done. The next month is stage two. Right, okay, you want to buy United, put your money on the table. What's your offer? That's stage two. Stage three is going to be when a new buyer gets chosen and they go through the due diligence and the takeover happens. But we're going into stage two now. When are you going to become a Ten Hag VTuber? I have no idea what that means. No idea what that means. No, I don't, Chris. I live down south. Of course, I've had to deal with the fact that I'm a Southern United fan. It is what it is. It's an old argument now. And luckily, people can't be asked to have that conversation anymore because I can't be asked. Even in the 70s and 80s, says Jonathan, when Liverpool won everything, they were envious of United and the glamour we had. Well, we got there first, I suppose. We had the babes in the 50s and the 80s. And prior to that, football tribalism didn't really exist in England until around about, I think it was the 70s. It was around about the 60s, actually, after we won the European Cup. It was in the 60s where, prior to that, there were people who would go and see Liverpool games and go and see United games. There were people who would go and see United games and go and see City games. The tribalism wasn't what it was today, where you really are just, you're locked into one team. And that started to emerge after the 60s. And it's quite curious. That's kind of how football has sort of changed. Garlic Bread Man saying, how could you check out my super chat? What's going on here? There is no super chat there. There isn't one coming up there. Down there. Steve Housen said there could be something about Herrera coming back. Have you heard anything about that? Herrera's not coming back. Really? Where's that come from? I'll be very surprised if Herrera comes back. I would. Let's not go back to our exes, all right? We're not learning anything there from that. Look, I'm not going to put Herrera in the same category as Ronaldo in any way, shape, or form. But this is Manchester United looking forwards and upwards. Herrera would be a stopgap signing if he was to be brought in. We don't want to be looking at any stopgap signings in midfield. Liverpool have seen Brighton days. I like what you're doing there, Garth. I like what you're doing there. But look, big up to all of you. What a cracking show that was. I like how informative, I like to say it's informative and engaging. I like to interact with your comments. Thank you all for joining in. Welcome aboard, Eric. You know, this is where Eric really wants to be. Just permanently smiling in the corner, hat on, with his green and gold. Big up to all of you. My Crystal Palace starting 11 will be out in about an hour and a half. So make sure you subscribe if you know you want to watch that video. Drop a like on the video, as I say about 4 or 5 times during the show every single week. If you haven't listened to the podcast, it's now available on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your podcast. It's available and it's a cracker. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for joining in. Gungshi, thank you for gifting some memberships as always. I'll see you soon.